Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Habitual Growth Podcast. I am Nathan, and this is Lisa here. And this is the podcast where excuses come to die, discipline is built, and lives are changed. So we're going to pretend I said that really smoothly.
We're gonna
Roll
off to a
right
great
in.
start.
Yes, we are. But you're asking about the topic today. And so the topic we're going to talk about is hustle versus harmony around the holiday season. And really where this came last week. So every week we try to pick a topic from a couple of things that have happened to us in real life from the previous week. So we're talking about things that are relevant, things that are trending on social media. But this really hit me last week during Halloween when people were kind of getting out and, a lot of the parents were taking their kids, they're going out trick-or-treating. People had shut down a little bit early. And I was just thinking about the number of things that still were on my plate. And sometimes I feel like it's always this hustle culture of like, you got to keep going, take every hour. And, even though I really do believe that that is super important, you gotta separate. It's separation season. It's the holidays.
Yes.
People go down, like keep going. I think there's a reality of like listening to your body, listening to your mind as well. And when it says, hey, I think I should really be focused over here. Or, it's a holiday night. I don't need to be working until midnight or 1 o'clock. And obviously there's nuances in that. But I wanted to get your thoughts on like the always hustling versus like, hey, let's take some time. Let's be present in the holiday season. Maybe it's a couple of hours, maybe it's a couple of days or a week. But like, what's your experience been? Like, how do you perceive that? What are your thoughts?
I actually think it depends on the person. So you and I are cut from a very similar cloth, and we tend to have a hustle mentality, right? So work as hard as you possibly can, do what it takes to get things done. And so for us, the takeaway over the holidays is to find those periods of quiet, maybe of harmony, of listening and being present more, because it doesn't come as naturally to us. I think there's also a lot of people that aren't that way. And this is the season for them where they do need to double down because maybe they've relaxed through the summer. It was boat season. It was their kids were in a million traveling sports. So I don't know that I think it's one or the other. I think it depends on kind of how you're built and how your mind is wired, because each of those two types of personalities needs to do something slightly different during this separation season. And for you and I, it's probably more checking out and putting the to-do list down per se, and finding moments where we can just enjoy being present, spending time with family, building things and relationships more so than maybe checking off one more thing on a work list. But there's a lot of people that I know that actually relax a lot and maybe need in this season, instead of turning on Netflix for 3 hours every single night, maybe should commit to getting one or two things done that moves them closer towards their goal or where they want to be at the end of the year, so that they do have that momentum going into 2026.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those thoughts. I just, pull on a couple of threads. So one, you've seen some of the LinkedIn videos that we're putting out there. We're going to be pushing those out to social media, different platforms as well. And one of the reasons we're doing that is these are topics that have come up. People have asked us questions or they're trending. And so it's like, hey, let's pull together a theme. And this right now, the theme is like getting prepared for 2026. And in one of those videos that I talked about last week, we talk about small, mini, like, or micro non-negotiables. And these are just commitments that we're making. So instead of like writing 7 emails a day, maybe it's like one paragraph to a book that you have, right? Instead of, working out for 2 hours, maybe it's, work out for 20 minutes or do some yoga in the morning to loosen up a little bit, get the blood flowing, whatever it is. But, I think that that's really important because as you were talking about, I'm always going to use my essential action list. That's just the nature of the beast, but I'll put different things on there. So I will say, hey, I'm not going to work today, but I'm still going to keep my mind sharp. So I'm going to read for 10 pages or 30 minutes. I'm going to still get my outdoor workout in, get some sunshine for 45 minutes. I'm still going to, eat a little healthier where I can. And I think that's really big too. So like if you're the type of person who likes to always achieve, maybe it just becomes, hey, now is the time to rest, but my rest is going to look different than what Lisa's doing. So instead of kicking my feet up and not, binging at Netflix for 3 hours, maybe it's going to be, I'm going to read, I'm going to do a cold plunge, and I'm going to go for an outdoor workout or something like that.
I think when you get into the mentality and the habitual growth mentality, right? And you've built your goals, you're using the daily essential actions list, you are correct. So there are times like during the holiday season where the list becomes more mindful of areas in your life where you might want to spend a greater percentage of time, because that is still moving you forward in some way. It just maybe a less tangible result, right? In your example, it's, maybe turning off my computer at 7 p.m. It might be getting outside and having some sunshine. Those are still things that you have learned move you forward as a person. So you're still doing the things that you need to do to get to where you want to be at the end of the year. Versus I'm choosing to not do anything, which I think a lot of people get to is I'm just going to lay here, flip on the TV and veg out for the entire afternoon, which, maybe occasionally if you're really sick is a good idea. But outside of that, I would say in general, that's not moving people in a direction that they're going to feel better, see better results, or build momentum in their life.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to bring this up today. I think you said it best there in that last sentence, which is like, what's going to make you feel the best? And I don't think binging Netflix for 2 weeks straight over the holidays or even a week straight is the right way to go about it. I don't think closing your computer and just completely unplugging is the right way to go about it. And again, it could be for some people. I like to listen to my body, my mind. And like, if the example I was giving you offline is like last night was not a great day. I was like, this day just needs to be behind me. It was like 7:30, and normally I will work for a couple hours after that, and I just decided to put the computer away and I literally just had a beverage and watched a scary movie. That said, I'll probably do one or two of those over the holidays. But the other thing that I'm also aware of is like, when am I feeling lazy, which is not harmony. And I think that there's a different thing. Like harmony can be, hey, when am I going to be in my element? When am I going to feel a little bit more rested, but also not like I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater and just having to pick myself back up after Christmas or after New Year's to get back in the swing of things. So I will, as counterintuitive as this sounds, I will push things on my calendar that I know I don't necessarily want to do, but are those non-negotiables for me, so that I am still doing things that don't necessarily let me be lazy, but I'm pushing myself, I'm challenging myself, I'm still getting things done. So I'm closer to my element without fully just like giving up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as we get closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas too, right, the pace of everything quickens for everybody, right? There's holiday parties, there's family get-togethers, you're buying presents, doing all these things and reflecting in your list like you're talking about, things that are still fulfilling to you and moving you forward as a person or growing you in some capacity might look a little bit different during those periods where there's a lot going on, and also giving grace to yourself to flex your essential actions list to say, hey, this week I've got a lot of family obligations, rather than add to my stress and anxiety because I've now created an essential actions list of 10 things that require a lot of mind share or
Mhm.
time to do them. I'm choosing to do smaller things or things that maybe are more mindful, that make me feel more present or grounded or whatever it might be during this week. It's totally okay. And I want people to look at periods of lives kind of like in sprints of weeks, like what's coming up in this week? What can I continue to move forward? Where do I need my mind, my body, my rest to be so that I'm showing up, but still not losing momentum during those periods where we're really busy?
Yeah. And we've talked about a couple of times on here how to use the central action list the right way. And again, most of the time we will talk about, hey, set a goal, make sure you're working towards the goal, set some things that are going to move you forward and your business forward. And it doesn't mean those things can't be slow. So, like you said, during the holidays, I will still put things on my list, and there are things that need to get done. So, there's still going to be some work stuff in there, but maybe it is that, hey, I'm going to turn my phone off at 5 p.m. for a week and try to get better sleep. I'm going to eat. I'm going to make sure I'm not having any snacks before 8 p.m. or I'm not going to eat any sugar stuff before dessert, whatever it is. But you can still position yourself while using a list. Maybe you're a little bit more lenient with yourself in some regards, but you're still building momentum. You're still holding yourself to a standard. You're still having that discipline and that accountability, because the worst thing that you can do is just completely fall off, right? That's the yo-yo of a diet example,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to go really hard and then we're just going to fall off the wagon. And then guess what? November or January 2nd, you're going to have to be picking yourself back up and trying to do things all over again versus like, hey, I stayed kind of close to where I wanted to be. Maybe I had that extra cookie or I had, that extra bowl of punch or whatever, but I got good sleep. I'm still exercising to some degree. I'm still exercising my mind by reading and playing games and things like that. So, listen to yourself, try to find that harmony without fully just throwing everything that you've been working so hard to accomplish out the window. But then also, how can you set yourself up for 2026? So you are still building that momentum. You're still building your foundation, and you're really hitting the ground running Jan 1, Jan 2.
Yeah. I do wanna give a shout out for the hustle people though, because I do it truly is separation season, and so for people who still want to achieve a goal or want to maybe navigate the holidays, but get an edge, kind of the competitive folks that are out there, now is the time to maybe add one more thing that you wouldn't normally do to your day or to your week, because most people will start to slow down, and there's nothing wrong with that, like we just talked about. Maybe this is your period where you need to be more mindful, but for people that really want to end the year maybe a step 2 3 4 ahead of where everybody else is, now is a great time to double down, because the separation between who is working hard and who is kind of gliding becomes very apparent.
Yeah. And to be clear, I think you can do both. One of the things that I was going to bring up, I think that's a good bit of information there is like, for especially for people that have kids or a partner, it's like have the conversation now, between we get a week off at Thanksgiving or we get the week off between Christmas and New Year's or whatever it is. But think about what schedules you can keep. One of the things I like to do is make sure like I get all of my essential actions done by 10 a.m. if possible, if not by noon, so that I can enjoy the rest of the day. So it's more, here's the structure early on. I have to have that conversation with my wife. She'll go work out while I'm working in the morning or something like that. And then vice versa. And then by noon, it's like we can go out and do whatever we want, right? We got the rest of the day. And so you definitely can do both. And I appreciate you saying that because it's not necessarily being lazy. It's not necessarily about giving up. It's like, what does that harmony look like for you, for your schedule, for what you are trying to accomplish? And yeah, don't give up. Yeah, you can glide, but it is separation season. So if you're that type of person, how can you adjust your schedule to get all of your hustle stuff out early so that you
Yeah.
can recognize later on?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I love this topic. I think it's helpful for people to frame and to think about early in the holiday season and prepare yourself, especially if you're someone that has not done an essential actions list through a holiday period before, or really have kind of fallen off the wagon when it comes to exercise and diet, or just general maintenance of, sleeping during the holiday season. Now is a time to think about, all right, how am I going to set myself up for success? Which weeks am I able to maybe double down and hustle a little bit harder? Where are the weeks where, I'm going to scale back a little bit because I don't need to add any stress or anxiety to everything else that's already on my plate? So pre-planning going into the holiday season, I think, is a great way for people, if they have not done this before, to feel like they are prepared and have a plan to execute on, versus getting kind of blown around by whatever comes.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. All right. Well, that was great. I appreciate the inputs. As always, it's good to speak with you. And for the audience, thank you for joining us. If you have comments, obviously, please make a note of them below on the video, subscribe, and we will see you later this week because we got another good subject we're going to talk
Yeah,
about.
we do. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Nate.